Hey guys, so I know it's been a couple weeks since I've done a video, but I am not pregnant anymore. so, as you can probably tell by the title, I'm going to tell you kind of my birth story and how that all went, and then at the end, I'm going to show you Declan. She's sleeping in her swing right now. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first off, she was born August 25th on her due date at 4:20 in the morning. That was a Friday. So not the Wednesday that week, but the previous Wednesday. So a week before, I was having pretty bad pains, contractions like in my stomach, like around this area, and I went to the hospital and I was 50% effaced and 2 centimeters dilated. But I was just kind of stuck there and not really anything happening, so I went home. Then the next Monday, I got my membrane stripped, and I was really hoping that that would just be the ticket, like that would just, send me into labor, but it didn't. So I was having contractions, like I said, like before, but they just weren't consistent. So that Wednesday, so was it already a week later? I got my membrane stripped. No, on the 21st. Yeah, so it was on that Wednesday I went down to the hospital because I was having pretty painful contractions and really bad like period cramping pains. And I was still like 2 centimeters dilated, so they had me, but my contractions are really strong. So they had me walk around like the premises or the hospital or whatever for 2 hours. I said, go walk and then come back. So me and my husband walked around for 2 hours, and we went back, and I didn't dilate at all. So they pretty much were like, okay, we're going to send you home, but because you're having strong painful contractions, we'll give you some pain meds. So they came in and they gave me a shot of morphine, and that hurt really bad, surprisingly. But she's the midwife that was on call pretty much said, this is either like, this will probably put you to sleep, and in the morning, because this was like 11 o'clock at night at this point. So she said in the morning, when you wake up, you'll either be feeling normal, and it'll like stop the contractions that are happening, or you'll wake up in like labor. So pretty much I went home, and she also told me to take a Benadryl so that I would really like knock out, because she said with the pain that I was having, the contractions, sometimes your body just needs to relax, and so she wanted me to sleep all night so that my body could relax. So that's why she gave me the morphine and I took the Benadryl. So I came home and slept, and I woke up in the morning and I was having painful contractions still, but they just weren't like super consistent. So I needed a few things from the grocery store, so I went to Walmart, and as I was walking around Walmart, they were pretty consistent, pretty strong, but I was like able to walk through them. And so, that was fine. And then I came home, and as I pulled into the driveway, I pull in, and it hit me like the most painful contraction that I had at that point. I had my foot pressed on the brake. I was like sitting back in the truck, like leaning back, and I literally was like, oh my God, like it was painful. So at that point, I was like, I need to go inside. So I went inside and I told my husband, I was like, you need to get the groceries out of the car. I have to lay down. So I laid down in bed for a little bit, and they just were getting like painful at that point. They were about maybe 10 minutes apart. And they were like, I was like moaning through them, like sitting there going like, oh my God, oh, like I couldn't sit still. My feet were like kicking around. They were getting painful. So I jumped in the shower and I put the hot water on my back, trying to see if that would kind of like relieve some of the pain. And it did a little bit, but it just really wasn't working. And so I got a shower, and I was like, you know what, I can't do this. We have to go to the hospital. Mind you, I have an hour drive to the hospital. Every time we go, it's an hour away. So we jumped in the car, we start driving down there, and as I'm driving down, they're about 6 minutes apart at this point. We get to the hospital, they check me right away, and they said like I'm 5-6 centimeters dilated. So they're like, we're gonna admit you now. So I was really happy for that, but they were so busy that I was like in the triage room, which I have Kaiser, so it was like a private room, but I'm in that room for 6 hours just laboring, and it was so bad to the point where I was literally like yelling during contractions. I was like holding onto the bars of the bed. I was like I said, I was like moving around, like thrashing around, like I couldn't keep my body still. I would start like convulsing in the middle, like shaking, my whole body just shaking uncontrollably in the middle of the contractions. It was the most painful thing that I've ever felt in my entire life. And I kept asking for an epidural. Well, they gave me some medication through my IV, which it didn't really help with the pain, but it made me feel loopy. Like I felt like high, but the pain was still really strong. So I only, like after that dose wore off, after like an hour and a half, I didn't get any more because to me it was pointless. Like it just made me feel really loopy, but the pain was still there. And anyway, so I kept asking for my epidural, and they're like, oh, we don't do epidurals in triage. So I'm like, well, I've been in here for 6 hours, so what happens if there's no rooms available? Like, and they're like, oh, you're just gonna have to deliver in triage. We've done it before. And so I'm like, okay, well, if you don't do epidurals in triage, like, am I just SOL and I have to like do this naturally? And I was freaking out because I was really just really like scared at that point because I was in a lot of pain. So the nurse was like, I'll see what I can do. And then she comes back about half an hour later and she's like, I just got in an argument with somebody and I got you a room. They kept bumping me down because I guess other people would come in who were like further along than me. So she's like, I got you a room. So I was so happy for that. So they took me out of the triage and they put me like in the other room, like switched beds, and then the anesthesiologist came in pretty much right after that and gave me my epidural. And it was, I had epidural with my son, but I was also already on like other pain meds, and I was taking Pitocin, and they had to do it mid-contraction because he was busy, and it was like a whole different experience. So this time it was like calm, and I was a little bit scared because I wasn't sure how bad it was going to hurt, but it was really like nothing. Like the shot of morphine that they gave me in my arm hurt worse than the epidural. It was like a pinch and then pressure, and that was it. And like immediately after that I felt like normal. Obviously no pain, it's a block, but that was really nice. So I was able to rest and relax. I slept a little bit, and then I woke up and I was feeling pressure up here on my back. And at this point it's like maybe midnight, so like Thursday night, it's midnight. And I start feeling, oh no, it's a little bit further than that. It's now Friday morning. Sorry. I started feeling pressure, and I called in my nurse and she checked me and she's like, oh, you're like 8.5. I'll come back in and check you in a couple minutes. So she comes back in maybe 10-15 minutes later and she's like, okay, you're 9.5. And then she's like, well, you're basically there, so let's, I'll get everything set up. So she just starts setting everything up by herself. And I'm like looking at my husband, I'm like, is this a one-man show? Like, are we just doing this with her? Because she, put my legs up in the things, and she actually had me push once. And then she pulled her phone out of her pocket and she's like, hey, you want to come into, the room? We're going to have a baby. And so then like the OB came in, and I think a midwife, and they just set everything up, and they're like, okay, start pushing. And it was really calm. It was super, super calm. They came in just like quiet. The lights were off except for like the ones that are like up, like shining down so they can see what they're doing. Yeah, it was just super calm. And then I pushed for maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10, and then she was born. So she born at 4:20 in the morning, and it was honestly like really easy labor, except for before I got the epidural. When I was in triage, I was dying. But yeah, so besides that, everything was perfectly fine. Everything was healthy. It didn't rip or have anything like that, so no stitches. So that's been awesome. Made my recovery super, super easy. But yeah, so then we just hung out at the hospital. They want to monitor you for 24 hours, just to make sure that, everything's fine with me, and then everything's fine with baby. And so we left, did we leave Saturday? Yeah, we left Saturday, in the evening, I believe. But, yeah, because it was the next day. Yeah, so Saturday, in the afternoon we left. It was just so busy that it was, hard to get everybody going in and out and stuff. Like, there was a lot of paperwork and not that many nurses, so But yeah, overall it was a really great experience. The labor part was really good. I wish I would have gotten an epidural sooner because that was not fun. But with my son, I was completely induced, and so it was a whole different experience because I went into labor on my own. I dilated on my own, like I didn't need Pitocin or anything, and so it was just a completely different experience. And she came on her due date, so I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, that's pretty much my birth story. Everything went really smoothly, nothing crazy happened. And now she's here. So she's like a week and 2 days old. I'm breastfeeding. Thinking about doing another video on that because I didn't get very far with breastfeeding my son. We had a lot of issues, and so this time is again way different. So I figured maybe I'll do a video on that if anybody's interested, if they might find that interesting or helpful. I'm definitely not an expert at all, but I'm figuring it out as I go, so I think the experience would be cool to talk about. But yes, that is basically the end of the video. I will, I guess, take you into the other room and show you her. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you found this video entertaining, even though nothing entertaining really happened, but at least my story. So yeah, let me know if you want to see that breastfeeding video, and if you have any other requests, then go ahead and let me know, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.